Good morning, class. My name is First Class Nicholas Szep, and today I'll be presenting on what the U.S. can do in regards to the Iran nuclear deal. Boom. Since the dawn of nuclear warfare in World War II, nuclear proliferation and nuclear arms races have been a mainstay in international politics and diplomatic relations. Is a world where every country has nukes the same as one where no country has nukes? Or does the existence of nuclear warfare have international players constantly on the verge of world-ending button pushing? Iran, a nation who currently has 0 nuclear weapons but desperately wants them, has been at odds with the United States since 1979. The Iran nuclear deal, otherwise known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the JCPOA. In 2015, Iran signed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action along with the United States, China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and Germany. The JCPOA extends Iran's ability to enrich enough uranium for nuclear weapons from a few months to around 1 year. So basically, it limits how much uranium they can enrich in a given time and basically stops them from enriching enough uranium in a few months to make a nuclear weapon to extending that time period out to at least a year. It also prompted Iran to scale back their nuclear weapons program and open their facilities to international inspection. In return, Iran received billions of dollars worth of sanctions relief. Trump administration and the JCPOA. So in May of 2018, the Trump administration pulled the United States out of the JCPOA in an effort to pursue a maximum pressure strategy with the Iranians. Since then, tensions have risen greatly between the United States and Iran. Some significant events in those rising tensions include Iran has broken many of the outlined terms in the JCPOA while using the U.S.'s leave of absence as an excuse to do so. The United States designated the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization, which was the first time the United States has ever designated another country's military as a terrorist organization. And the U.S. carried out an assassination of IRGC general. And then in response to that, the Iranians launched rocket attacks on U.S. military bases in Iraq. So what can we do? I propose that the U.S. needs to rejoin the JCPOA as quickly as possible. The Biden administration should attempt to reduce sanctions that are negatively affecting Iranian citizens more than they are affecting Iranian rulers. And the Biden administration should continue to bolster U.S. military infrastructure in the Persian Gulf and Middle East. Rejoining the JCPOA. President Biden campaigned on rejoining the Iran deal and building it stronger, but has been hesitant to do so. The reason he's been hesitant to do so is because, as I previously mentioned, Iran is not following all of the things that are lined out in the JCPOA, and President Biden wants them to come back in line before the U.S. signs on again. In contrast to that, I propose President Biden should re-enter the deal as a sign of good faith to show the Iranians that the maximum pressure era is over in the United States. And Iran's foreign minister, Javad Zarif, has publicly stated that this will bring Iran back to the table and back within the confines of the agreement. As far as rescinding some economic sanctions on the Iranian government. Many of the sanctions that are against Iran affect the average citizen's well-being much more than the ruling class. Some areas in which sanctions could be reduced to help Iran's poor class include the U.S. could restore temporary waivers that would allow Iran to sell oil while other U.S. sanctions remained in effect, and those temporary waivers would be under strict international scrutiny and surveillance. The United States could also allow an International Monetary Fund loan, which the Iranians have applied for, to go through that would address trade deficits for the Iranians. Once again, that would be under intense international surveillance and scrutiny. Lastly, the United States could allow Iran more access to existing foreign exchange reserves, which would strengthen the Iranian currency and reduce inflation of the Iranian currency, which would give the Iranian people, like the average class Iranian people, more purchasing power and bolster a stronger Iranian economy and make them less aggressive in trying to get ahead in the weapons race. All of these options would make the Biden administration appear to be more of a team player on the world stage. Lastly, I propose the Biden administration continue to utilize the Navy's Fifth Fleet to secure and deter Iranian aggression in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. The Biden administration should also continue to use the U.S. Coast Guard's PAC-4 SWA units as naval escorts and purveyors of peace in the region. Additionally, he should have military units standing by if the aforementioned good faith efforts do not work and more aggressive negotiations are needed. Some opposing views of my propositions are rejoining the JCPOA before Iran does could make the United States look weak. And the second one is the JCPOA did not accomplish enough and therefore it's not worth being a contributory to. And in response to those, I would say to the first, the U.S. maintains the largest international influence and the largest military in the world. So there's no real legitimate fear of looking weak. We have the firepower to back ourselves up, and everyone knows it. And if the Iranians do not play ball once the U.S. re-enters the JCPOA, there's always a chance for more aggressive stances to be taken. But why not start at the lowest one in the interest of peace? Lastly, in response to the second criticism, the JCPOA is not perfect, and I don't think anybody claims that it's perfect. In fact, that's probably why President Biden talks about building on it. However, something is better than nothing, and international access to Iran's facilities makes the deal worth it alone, in my opinion. Those are my works referenced, and that's my presentation. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.